with Charles Albert Johnson III after this brief message.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I started going cold turkey. Well, at least when I'm in the car.
I know I shouldn't do it, but it's so hard to stop. That's why I hide it from myself, so I won't be tempted.
I used to do it all the time. I stopped by locking it in my glove compartment.
My friend used to do it way too much. Now I turn it off when we're in the car.
My solution is simple. I just don't do it.
There are lots of ways to stop yourself and others from texting and driving. How will you stop? Tell us at stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
So if the ties are bound, ever do come loose, tie 'em in a knot like a hangman's noose. 'Cause I'll go to heaven or I'll go to hell before I'll see.
Welcome back to Graceland with Jennifer Meadows.
Well, I am Jennifer Meadows on Philadelphia's 1360 AM with TJ O'Hara and Charles Albert Johnson III. And I did want to talk about, and I know we did talk about this a little bit last week, but about Paul Ryan and the House speakership. And it looks like he will be the new speaker. Many people are not real happy. I'm one of those people, actually. We're trading John Boehner for a Paul Ryan. Doesn't look real good for conservatives. And Congress people, they go out, they form caucuses. And I had never heard of this Freedom Caucus until just recently. But the Freedom Caucus, which was 36 members of the House, basically came in. They didn't give him an official endorsement, but they did say they were going to stand behind him. So it looks like this is pretty much a done deal. But I'm going to ask you, TJ, and you, Charles, do you expect any changes, any real change, I guess I should say, with Ryan as Speaker? And I'm going to start with you, Charles, and then you, TJ.
Well, Jennifer, I was disappointed to hear about the Freedom Caucus's decision. Felt kind of like a betrayal in a sense, because they're supposed to be a voice for conservatism. Paul Ryan, of course, fiscally, he was touted as a conservative. That's debatable, the way things have panned out. If I recall correctly, we all thought he was a good VP pick for Mitt Romney. Our opinion of him has soured since then. He has not come to bat as he should have for conservative causes. That leads me to believe that there will not be much change from John Boehner with a Paul Ryan as Speaker of the House. I think that is going to be more of the same, really. It's going to be the same battles that the conservative wing of the party had to fight against John Boehner. I just don't think Paul Ryan's one of us, in my opinion. And I think it's going to lead to more infighting among the party. That's my opinion.
No, I agree with you, Charles. He got an F rating by the Conservative Union. It's hard. I'm imagining it's probably pretty hard to do, especially with this bunch that we got in there right now. But he's pro-amnesty. I know he's also for the TPP. He's even been involved in targeting of some other conservatives in the House as well. But TJ, I don't know. What do you think? Any real change if Ryan becomes Speaker?
Well, I think it's human nature to give people a chance. And I think that's what you'll probably see. I think just because of that behavioral trait, there may be an opportunity to make some needed progress, much needed progress. I think if battle lines were drawn and people really dug their heels in and either had an ultra-conservative speaker, I think they'd have a hard time, first of all, having enough votes to pull that off. But on the other side, if they got somebody who was just going to be, Boehner 2, if you will, kind of the second version or a second coming of him, I think that would fail too. And I think Paul Ryan's smart enough to understand that. So I think there's going to be a honeymoon period of time where maybe the conservatives cut Paul Ryan a little more slack than they would have had Boehner continued in the speaker position. And in the same regard, I think he's the type of individual who wants things to go well. So I think there'll be some compromise that maybe Boehner either didn't choose to exercise or maybe felt he wasn't in a position to exercise.
Well, and I wish I felt as positive about it, because I do feel like, he's kind of just like John Boehner. It's like, gosh, we've gone through this whole shuffling of the deck chairs and we came up with the same guy, is what I'm feeling. But, and moving into my next question, and this is what everyone's been so upset about is Ryan is pro, amnesty. He's all about this immigration reform. So does this set into motion, basically legalizing, and I am so sick and tired of seeing this written over and over and over again. We don't have 11 million illegals in this country anymore. It's more upward of 50 million. So, hey, newsflash to all of you out there in the writing world. I don't care where you are. Stop printing this whole 11 million. That was back in 2010. Okay. So we're talking about 40, 50, 60 million illegal immigrants in this country at this point. But does this set into motion legalizing these illegals? And I want to ask you, TJ.
Well, I think it depends on whom you talk to within, like, the Freedom Caucus, because there's a split within the members of that caucus. There were 5 members of it who wrote a letter to Rand Paul saying that they needed to expand legal immigration. You have Daniel Webster, who's running still for Speaker. He'll be one of the opponents that Paul Ryan has, who also favored some sort of reform. I think his quote was, "Doing nothing is amnesty." And so there's a little bit of a split. Even Jim Jordan, who I think showed tenacity in the recent hearings with Hillary Clinton, and actually brought out probably the most interesting elements, factual elements of that. But even he's talked about needing some sort of reform. So I don't think it's a matter that they're completely against it. I think members of the Freedom Caucus, some members recognize that there's a need to address it. But on the conciliatory side, as I was mentioning before, this is one of the areas that Paul Ryan's already stepped up on. And he said as long as the Obama administration is still in control of the White House, he's not going to push for any type of reform, because I don't think he could get the type of reform that he wants through.
And I certainly hope not. I hope not. I hope we can at least trust Paul Ryan on that one point, if nothing else. But I don't know. What do you think, Charles? I mean, does this set into motion some type of legalizing, some however many million, I don't know, 40, 50 million, 60 million illegals, essentially amnesty?
Well, and Jennifer, to your point about that 11 million number, when they tried to do amnesty when Bush 43 was in the White House, they were saying 11 million back then. So, I mean, surely it's matriculated up from 11 million.
I know. Why?
Since that time, my goodness, this 11 million number is very annoying to me every time I hear it.
It makes me
every
angry.
time I read it, I just get real irked. But to the point of your question, I do believe that this coronation, if you will, of Paul Ryan, I think it is setting the stage for another amnesty push. But look, we've seen this show before. When Bush 43 was in the White House. We've seen it throughout the Obama administration. They're going to push for this. They believe in it. The Democrats want to capture the Hispanic vote as they have the black vote. They want another minority voting bloc going almost unilaterally toward the Democratic Party. The Republicans are afraid of this. So they want to counter, saying, look, we're for it too. Don't just look at them, look at us. And that's where we are. It's political pandering at its worst. We have the two political parties in this country racing to lock up the next minority voting bloc. And this one's a lot bigger than the black vote because, if for nothing else, because of the disproportionate abortion rate among the African American community. They're being out reproduced by the Hispanic immigrant population. And so it's just going to be untenable to hold them up to the same numbers. And this is the reason why Hispanics have overtaken African Americans as the number one minority group in America. So here we are. Conservatives don't want to politically pander. We want to make the case with our intellect, with our ideas. And conservatism appeals to the traditional Hispanic belief system that's already intact. A lot of these Hispanics are Catholic. They're very pro-life. A lot of them very hard workers, have a work ethic. And so we need to be making our case to them through a legal immigration angle, or maybe some expansion of legal immigration to a degree, but not amnesty for 50 million illegals. And I wish people stopped saying that 11 million number.
I know. It's really annoying because I've been seeing that figure for so many years. It's like, how many years can we use that figure? It's not 11 million. It's not even close to that. But, the Daily Caller had a great article about this topic, about the Freedom Caucus and why they may have decided to back Ryan. And I'm quoting, this is from Matt Lewis. He works with the Daily Caller. From his article, it says, politics are messy. He says, and while members of the Freedom Caucus are hardcore conservatives, they do not share the same passion that animated the people who were most actively opposed to Speaker Ryan. He says, additionally, Ryan has assured them he will not seek immigration reform. I know we talked about this just a minute ago. While President Obama is in office, once you get past the amnesty issue, which was a deal breaker for some, Ryan is obviously the most conservative candidate who could realistically get the job. And a supermajority of conservatives in the House, it seems, agree. So I don't know, and I know we've talked about this a little bit already, but, what comments? I don't think Daniel Webster could have ever gotten the votes he needed to, very likely to even have been a serious contender. But what do you think, Charles?
Well, Jennifer, listen, I'm so tired of hearing, he's the most conservative that can actually get the job. I'm so tired of hearing that. We heard it from Romney. He's electable. He's the most conservative, electable guy we have. I heard it with McCain for president in 08. He's the most electable conservative we can. When are we going to stop accepting this? That a conservative candidate, and I mean a down-the-road conservative candidate, I mean a conservative candidate that is against amnesty, that is a gun-toter, that believes in preserving the life of the unborn. I'm talking about a conservative's conservative. A conservative's conservative can win. We must stop psyching ourselves out with this psychobabbler. Is the most electable conservative. Listen, we have to get out there and make the case. They said Reagan was unelectable. They said it for 2 whole presidential election cycles before 1980, that Reagan was unelectable. And guess what happened? The 2 biggest landslides that we have had in our party's recent history. What has this shown us? What can we learn from this? Let's stop buying into the notion that the most electable conservative out there. And let's